Today, Precarious plays
Super Mario 3D World.
Here's the thing. It's interesting, the balance between making things more difficult but making you feel like you have control over it, and making things more difficult and just making you furious because it feels like you're so out of control. Like, just in games in general. Like, when you're having a difficult time, but every time you lose, you're like, oh man, I did that wrong. That thing, I have to fix that thing. And then you go back, and then maybe you mess up one more time, or two more times, but like, finally you're like, that thing that I've been doing wrong, I have fixed it. It is fixed. It is incredibly satisfying, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I mean,
like, when you know what's going on, and it's just, like, physically difficult for you to do, or just, like, it requires concentration that you haven't mustered yet, and you know what it is, and you can fix it, that is, like, so great. But having to deal with something that is just annoying...
Well, I mean, it's the difference between something... what I normally say, whenever I'm explaining it. It's, like, the difference between... challenging and difficult, I think is how I normally put it.
Yeah.
So for the sake of what I'm saying right now, challenging is when something presents a challenge, which is meant to be, it's designed to be overcome.
Like having a really good rival.
Oh, that's a long way around, Mario. Nice. Okay, there we go. Bang. Do you not remember this guy?
I guess not.
I fought him a few times.
His hair is especially fun.
Bang. I know, I like his face whenever you're about to. No, don't shove me in the tube!
He's like, and then he gets all mad and he's like,
Dad, I don't want to go in the tube!
No! Oh. Kicking my ass, man. Now you get a green star!
And confetti. Ugh. Okay, so challenging... It's whenever you see everything, you understand all of the parts, and then you just are challenged to do everything in the proper way.
Yeah.
Difficult is just when it's time-consuming or boring. If it's just a war of attrition and you're just floundering around, uncertain of what's supposed to be happening.
Well, some people like the randomness.
It's a game that a lot of people described as challenging, and
You're like, it's not hard, you guys are just not paying attention to the rules.
No, there was a game where a lot of people really liked it, and I absolutely hated it.
Was it a dungeon crawler of some kind?
I think it was Rogue Legacy.
I think maybe. Yeah, because it was really random and it didn't seem...
Right, okay, so the problem that I had with Rogue Legacy, I'm remembering now.
Was it Rogue Legacy? Or is that just a good example?
Well, I mean, it's good enough for what I want to talk about. The problem that I had with Rogue Legacy is that certain elements of your character would be randomized every time you perished, because the idea was that you... okay. I thought I was going to get crushed.
Dear Lord.
The idea was that you had an estate that would be passed on to your descendants, and you invested in certain things that they weren't for you so much as they were for... Like, the money you acquired, it wasn't really yours, it was for your offspring. And it was a really cool concept, but one of the problems is that a lot of the weird things that would happen for your character every time it was randomized, every generation, you would know straight away how difficult the run was going to be. Ooh, okay. Right, that's Fran. My bad. So you would know right away how difficult the run was going to be. And oftentimes... I mean, it got to a point where it was... Was I just quitting? Was I just giving up without realizing it?
Because you knew how your character was going to be?
Or, like, what happened first? Did I go, oh, good, a giant, like, what was like a really unfortunate combination? I mean, anytime I think I got giant wizard, I think, wasn't super helpful, because your hitbox was much larger. I'll just use giant as an example, just in general. If you were made giant, you could use that to your advantage sometimes. You know, I don't think I'm explaining this very well.
Okay, so Rogue
all
Legacy.
I'm gonna say is that I'd have to play it again to remember why exactly. But I was really, really disappointed in that game because it came highly recommended to me. Like, I was mad at the friend who told me to go play it.
Because you were like, you said I'd like this. I opposite of like this.
Like, I really, really hate this.
You're supposed to be my friend, man. You're like one of my best friends, man.
Like, I'm upset that I spent dollars on this. Like, it was one of the only games I've ever played where I was like, God, if I could get a refund for this, I would.
Oh. Well,
I'm trying to remember.
About it. I think you were excited about it because, well, if I remember correctly, the whole thing was that it sounded like when you were going to start playing it, that your actions in previous generations would heavily affect the class of heroes that would come after you, and then you would be able to do better and better each time you went through the dungeons. Like, you would be able to make it further and further depending on what you did. And maybe there would be some interesting setbacks and interesting combinations and things, but in general, if you were like, we are going to be the house of house mages and this house will go on for generations, it would be like Fate Zero. Like all of the crazy wizard families in Fate Zero. Or, well, sorcerers.
Fate Stay Night?
Fate Stay Night,
well,
yeah.
Fate Stay. Fate Slash.
Well, however you want to say it is fine with me, as long as we all know that we are talking about the Holy Grail War.
Yeah, okay.
The point is that those are families with generations of training and lore and interesting stuff that has gone on. And the idea of being able to cultivate like a generations-long process to make your heroes great and better your family in general sounds like really interesting.
Ooh, I'm sorry, I forgot we were recording.
Uh-huh.
I thought we were just, playing Mario.
Oh, yeah?
We'll come back once we're back to the right levels.
Oh, did you just pick one?
No, I just needed more cat bells. Okay, I remember. I'm starting to remember what I really disliked about Rogue Legacy.
Mm-hmm.
There, in the game, I don't really remember any penalty for a character's sudden and untimely death.
Mm-hmm.
Which is to say, if you wind up with no options that you're interested in, shoot. Okay, I'll do that later. If there's nothing that you're interested in playing, you can just kill your character and try again.
Oh.
I think it's one of the reasons why you were disappointed by Spore.
Yes.
It's sort of like maybe closer to the antithesis of that, like the opposite side of it. Because my problem with Rogue Legacy is that if you realized you had something unsuccessful, you could just ditch it and it didn't matter. And one of the reasons why you didn't like Spore, is if there was something that shouldn't work,
It would anyways.
yeah, you could make it work anyways. Yeah, I'm sorry, completely different thing.
Yeah, but it's still...
Trying to talk and do all of this is very complicated.
I think we might just be stuck on topic of games that were disappointing.
Yeah.
Which is a sad topic. Let's not do it. And I like Spore enough. It was disappointing. I'm just disappointed.
I went back and I played Spore fairly recently.
Yeah.
Without all of the hype around it,
Yeah.
I enjoyed it a bit more.
It's broken my heart. I can't.
Also, again, it's a self-imposed rule, and you know how those can be.
Yeah.
But there isn't anything. There's nothing stopping you from
playing like it matters.
Yeah, like doing slow, gradual changes, and it does. I did that. The last time I played it, and it does provide quite a bit of satisfaction looking back over your own like genetic legacy, your history, right?
Yeah.
And seeing all of the slow, gradual changes, especially because I had the will to stick with it and actually do that.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's nice, but I thought that was going to be the game.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think it was supposed to be, because we both saw the awesome trailer where like there was blood in the game and that creature used its mouth parts to drag something back to its nest, and you actually had to do that sort of thing.
Well,
it was really cool.
Seemed like that. I wanted to have a game where I had to navigate some choices that would affect my physiology, like the physiology of a whole species, and have it have repercussions and implications in my later culture. That's all I wanted. But what I ended up doing was making like an eyeball with way many limbs and just having it stroll around and deal with stuff because it could. Like, I was never presented with any sort of challenge or reason to do anything other than basically play The Sims, but biology.
The Sims is a better game.
Yeah, probably.
I mean, I've played quite a bit of The Sims, and it's
just better.
Yeah, I mean, it's more focused. Because that was one of Spore's problems, is it did, 5 things kind of okay.
The creature creator was really cool. Like,
the creature creator was cool.
Very
the procedural
fun.
Animations were cool. The cell stage was fun. Like,
I just thought it was gonna be just like so much more meaningful than it was. Yeah. You know what I mean?
I think that the cell stage, I've described it before as like a sequel, a weird spiritual successor to Pac-Man.
Yeah, I liked the cell stage because you had to like find the parts. It was just all.
Well, it was tight. It was tight, and it was pretty unique. Like, the closest thing that I can really think to compare it to is like weird Pac-Man, or it's just a weird arcadey, cool experience, and then everything else is just sort of like a shallow copy. I mean, look, if you want, you can play a visually disconnected but mechanically very similar, better edition of Spore. All you have to do is you go and you play Pac-Man for a while, and once you're bored with Pac-Man, then you go and you play, I don't know, what after that it was the creature stage, so you have to play World of Warcraft or another MMO. I guess go play WildStar now for a few minutes, and then once you're done with WildStar, you go and you play probably maybe get him some real-time strategy, so play a few minutes of StarCraft 2, and then after that go play Civ Beyond Earth, just to keep the theme.
Maybe Civ Beyond Earth, but then really I think that if the later game has more to do with like is it Terraria? No, it's not. Starbound.
Oh yeah, and then you wrap up with Starbound.
Or you could just play Starbound, which is awesome and wonderful and full of joy.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Well, anytime I play it, I'm happy.
But that only takes seconds to say, and we've got to talk for 10
Yeah, I
minutes
know.
at a time. I'm sorry, that was
That wasn't. That is one thing. We have
Happy,
not been
spiky
talking.
hammerhead sharks.
I know, we have not been giving this game enough attention. Because what the fuck with those sharks?
They're adorable.
They don't have any mouths.
They did. I think they had little flappy mouths on the bottom.
Meep, 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 meep,
You go meep.
meep, meep, meep.
Meep, meep, meep.